I'm Ryan Stevens.
Dr. Taylor Waters.
I'm Ben Oliver.
Welcome to the Superhuman Show, yeah?
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Superhuman Show with myself, Ryan Stevens, and Dr. Taylor Waters. And so today, Taylor wanted to talk about societal norms. Sounds very science. Sounds very sciencey, doesn't it? Which is really what most people do. But it's a good one because it's one of the biggest conversations that we end up having with clients, where it's less about their plan, but it's how to navigate their plan in life, like in general,
within society,
within the societal norms. So
within the norms, of
yeah.
society.
And so we kind of wanted to like title this this podcast that it's okay to be different. Like I think one of the biggest things that holds people back is fear of judgment of others and wanting to conform, not wanting to stand out, not wanting to behave different. But then logically, if you behave like everyone else, then you're probably going to get the same results as everyone else. Yeah. If you want something different, you're probably going to have to do something different. So yeah, Taylor, why don't you kick this off just with kind of your observations on it?
The reason it came up this week is it was something that was coming up quite a lot within feedback that I'm providing the clients and throughout conversations with clients. And like the first time it came up was earlier on in the week, where one of the guys said, one of his biggest challenges has been booze. Like I think he works in the alcohol industry, and then he was saying, and we've cut it down massively. And then he said, throughout this process, I found like that frequent, like, you're boring. Like, what happened to fun? I won't say his name, but let's call him John.
Big John.
What happened to fun, John? What happened to, and it's like, and again, because he's not doing what the norm are doing. But then again, that study that came out recently was it like 60+% of the population are now overweight or obese? Well, if you do what the norm do, well, then you will likely look and function like the norm do. And the norm at the moment aren't looking or functioning very great at all. Yeah. So, and then another one there we were speaking about, there's sort of like in different cultures as well. And another client, I was looking through a food diary, and there's just the frequency of cheese was through the roof. And I was like, there's so much cheese in this. Like, if I think about how much cheese don't get me wrong, I like cheese. But I was like, God, there's like cheese like 3 times a day. And I was like, and she was like, I basically speaking about how struggling to keep calories very low. And I was like, well, when you live basically off cheese, it is quite hard to keep your calories quite low. And then it's like, but then being from like an Italian American background, like that Italian culture, there is lots of cheese. So the norm thing to her is having cheese. Like whenever you have a salad, you put cheese on it. Whenever you have, whenever some vegetables, there's some cheese. Where you have like bread with cheese. There's always, it ties cheese to so many things. So it's like these two people, like their norms are, one of them was very high alcohol, and the people around him, that's what they all do. And then hers was obviously a diet based around very dense foods. And I think that's where you sort of got to look at the way society, like people often speak in the fitness world about, how societal norms have changed, the ideal thinness, like, females being very thin and certain looks like that. But it's like, if you look at like normal behaviors within society, some of the key ones that stand out for me personally are like a real over-reliance on energy-dense foods, and then celebratory consumption. This is in Western society, and then celebratory consumption, like for the most minor of celebrations.
Imagine if you were lactose intolerant and you were in an Italian American family. Just every meal.
Oh, God. Steve stinks.
Parmesan on everything. Not again.
Sometimes I tell people to be like, you can think like that though. Like imagine you couldn't drink alcohol for a certain reason, or like you was lactose intolerant. It's like you would make the decisions of those type of people. If the consequences was higher enough. And like I say to some of my clients who drink as well, mainly because they say, if I don't have this drink at this business dinner, the chances of me doing business is less. I was like, I've got a billionaire client that's never tasted alcohol.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it's like a story that you've told yourself, and it might have been from like when you first started out in that profession, the guy that mentored you said, "Oh, if you really want to get the deals done, lubricate the conversation with a bit of booze." And it's like been ingrained in your head that it's like booze equals deals, and it's just how we do it. And you never challenge the kind of status quo. And and you can apply that to like family occasions, birthdays, like. How many times is it like something like a ritual and it's like, oh, we've just always done it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so, but there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's always been that way, but now it doesn't suit you and your needs. So it's like, well, how about you change it? But it goes to that bigger conversation of like what's your fear of making the change? Like, and it might be like, well, I might not get business. And it's like, okay, do you know this for a fact? No, try it. And and then if you say, so over the last year, I've looked at all of the deals where I've drank and where I've not drank, and 70% of the time when I drink, I close deals. 70% of the time, like when I don't drink, I don't close the deal. Then it's like, well, you've got some significant evidence there. Like, then we might go, I'm not saying anyone would ever do that, but then you could make an informed decision and be like, okay, so you're probably going to have to drink a little bit. Let's find a way to manage that as best we can. But a lot of times, people will kind of say these things with zero evidence. It's just what they believe would happen. And it's like, well, have you ever tried it? No. Like, maybe try it once. And because the amount of times we spoke to clients where they've stopped drinking and then their clients have seen that they're not drinking and then they ask them about it and then they see that they're in shape and they almost get more business because they're taking care of themselves and they're not drinking, they're not eating all the desserts and all that stuff. And that it's because it's out of the norm, it perks people's interest. And so you almost become the most interesting person in the room because you're not like everyone else. And so it can almost work as a bit of a superpower as well if you want it.
Well, what's the saying? Like, if you want what others don't, you have to do what others don't. Is that it? What is it?
Something like, I mean, everyone says it there.
Yeah, if you wanna,
it was in Rocky or something.
That's it. If you want to have what others don't, you have to do what others won't.
Yeah,
that's it. And it's like, and that's it. It's like, if you want to just behave like everyone else, and like, look around you, look at, do they have what you want? Because if they don't, it's likely you're gonna have to behave differently. And again, it's similar. Like, oh well, in my culture, this is what we do. Like within my friendship group, this is what we do. Like this is the norm. And it's like, by doing the norm, this is the outcome. So it's likely that you're going to have to go against the norm if you want a different outcome. And again, that is a choice that you need to make. Do I want to go against the norm?
Yeah.
But it's like, if everyone was walking around shredded and jacked and everyone looked good and felt great, like the behaviors wouldn't be what they are now. Like the normal behaviors in society wouldn't be what they are now. It's like, so it's like, if I want that, it's likely that I'm going to have to not do what these other things are doing. And it's like, you can, again, like you can keep cheese in all like you want. You can have cheese 3 times a day, but if you want to be in shape and feel great year round, it's unlikely that your diet is going to be based predominantly around cheese.
And if you think about it as well, like even like there's a lot of things that I come up with is like alcohol is tied to absolutely everything. Like we were speaking about before this call, like you have to go to a basketball game and eat like a hot dog and a pretzel. If someone dies, you drink alcohol. If you get a promotion, everything drinks alcohol. If I meet these friends, I drink alcohol. And something I say to these people is like, well, what is the actual purpose of, in this example, going to watch the basketball game or going to see your friends? Is like good conversation, watch the game. Is like alcohol and food is not tied to that.
No.
It's like you have tied it to that. So and then it's like, oh, well, what's your fear of taking that out? It's like, well, I may not have those friends. It's like, well, are they really friends or are they drinking buddies?
Yeah.
And it's like, again, it's that conversation. I had this with one of my guys and he said about the whole fun tone. And it's like, well, sometimes the only way people know how to have fun is just to get pissed.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the only way they know. So for those people, if you stop drinking, you might be boring because that's the only thing they know how to have fun with. But I was like, I asked him, I was like, what can you do that is fun outside of getting pissed? Like, can you go for a hike with your friends? Can you play sports with your friends? Can you go watch a comedy show with your friends? Can you watch a movie with your friends? Can you play some board games with your friends? Can you play cards? Can you shoot some shit? Like, can you go shooting? It's like, there's so many things you can do that are fun that you likely may want to start exploring. But I think, again, within society, it's not the norm to go play sport with your friends. It's not the norm to go watch. It's the norm to just go to the pub and just drink. And it's like, again, if you're gonna stick within those norms, then it's like, yeah, good luck.
I think one thing to consider, like with all of it though, is we're not. There's no shame in the people that want to do that.
No.
You know, if you do want to go to the pub, you don't want to exercise, blah blah blah. Like everyone can live exactly how they want to live, and at no point, even if you start making changes and stuff, it's not you then look down on people that are going down the pub and you're better than them.
No.
You know, like as a human being, like you're better at them at fitness probably because you've made these changes.
They are better than you were drinking pints, then.
Yeah. So it's
Definitely better than me.
Yeah. But I think like
He's face down in a puddle.
just 1 pint in. But I think it is really important to recognize, like you said, there's no good or bad. It's simply you can look at the trends of the norm and say, well, the typical person looks like this. We're not saying good or bad, you know, like typical person behaves like this and looks like this. Do I want to look like that? And if the answer is no, then it's like, okay, well, I probably should behave differently. And then with that, the price is you are going to stick out like a sore thumb sometimes. Like even going on our vacations, like we always joke and like you were like, I'm going to be
Mr. Mallorca.
Mr. Mallorca down the pool. And I went to Greece, and there, I mean, aside from maybe like one dad that looked like he
I
had,
was going to say that. I went to Greece and I fitted in great.
yeah. I looked like one of the locals. But aside from, I think there was like one dad playing with his kid that looked like an ex-athlete. So he wasn't overweight or anything. You know, had an outline of abs. There was no one else remotely close. And it's very easy to kind of look at that and be like, like everyone's shambles here, but that's their norm. It's like, that's where they go for vacations. You'd look around, pretty much every single adult had either a beer or a cocktail in their hand all day. And very rarely would you see someone just drinking water. And that was the standard. And so I was not the norm in that situation. And I'm fine with it. Yeah. But equally, I look at it, and because I was getting stared at everywhere, not in a good way. Like it wasn't, look how awesome that guy looks. It was like, who's this freak?
Look how sweaty he is.
Yeah. Why is he getting all the meat from the buffet? But equally, I accept that, and it's like, well, I don't want to look like anyone here. Yeah. And I don't want to behave like anyone here. So it again comes down to that. Do I care what other people think? You know, everyone can have their own opinion or whatever. And am I okay with that? And if the answer is no, then you have to accept that you're probably going to limit your progress or success because you're giving the power to other people and fear of what they're going to say to your face or behind your back. And that, for some reason, you know, allows you to change your behavior.
Yeah.
Which is crazy common, even like in relationships, like close friends, even in the workplace, like business meetings, even strangers. Like you could literally be like, oh, well, I don't want to do this because like if I go for a run, then everyone's going to stare at me. And it's like, how many runners do you see and you give two fucks about like when they walk by and they run like the girl from Taken, you know, like, and it's like shambles. But like you look at it and you go, and then you carry on with your life. But for some reason, we all think in our head that everyone is so invested in us. And the truth is, like, no one really gives a fuck. Yeah, because they're thinking the exact same thing as you. They're too worried about how they look. Yeah, and so it's like no one really cares, but you build up this story in your head that everyone cares, and you're the talk of the town. And the moment you don't eat that cake or have a drink, then it's going to be the gossip, and really everyone like. You're not that important, bro.
Yeah. Like, often when people do say something as well, they're just projecting, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's all they do.
It can come from a place of envy, where they wish that they were, maybe they wish they looked like how you looked or behaved or had the discipline or whatever. And it's easier to make a passive aggressive comment than give you a compliment. Because by giving you a compliment, they acknowledge that they are not doing that. And you know, because it's always like, oh, you look great. It's like, yeah, I used to do this and blah blah. And it's like, well, here comes the excuse. And but what's funny, what's ironic is like the person that's in shape is never the one. Because if you go, you're you're overweight. Like, cool, what
Can
you
you
been
imagine?
doing? Like, but it's
Been drinking gravy again.
yeah, but it's perfectly acceptable for someone out of shape to shame someone in shape now,
Yes,
which
yeah.
to me
Oh,
is
yeah.
absurd.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, it's like they think that person can take it well. And maybe they've struggled with their body image their entire life.
So
and
quite a lot of people who are in shape, it's built on insecurity
Yeah.
as well. Like I'm insecure about the way I look, so I make a lot of effort to look
Yes.
a different way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you start commenting on the way they look, it can
even if objectively you think they look good, but if you make like if you take the piss, it might really upset them, and they that like goes deep to them. You don't know.
And again, surely you would be more offended if someone took the piss out of something that you've tried hard in than something that you haven't tried hard in.
Yeah.
Like if someone took the piss out of me as a coach, I'd be pretty seething. Someone took the piss out of me for my basketball skills. I'd be like, all right, that's not offensive at all.
Yeah.
So it's like it is strange how we've got to that place in society now, whereby it's almost like you cannot comment on someone's weight or appearance if it is not
It's
desired.
I mean, this is where you go.
That's the key word. It's desired. Like you can comment on someone in shape because like it's desired. That's why it's okay to comment on someone that's thin but not fat.
Yeah.
You know, you can call like a skinny person. They may have been suffering with like anorexic. And I'm just going, oh, you're thin.
Yeah.
But if they turn around and say, God, you're fat, like one would be accepted and one wouldn't. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they could have both equally gone through the same struggle.
Yeah.
Whereas like it's either the gloves are on or the gloves are off.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
is it
Don't
are
dish
we,
it out if you
are
can't
we
take it.
not commenting on appearance at all? And we're not commenting on build
Because
at
if you
all?
want to play the game, then we'll play.
Yeah.
then we can play. And again,
Yeah.
it's the same thing. Like you know, you can easily comment on someone's hair, you can comment on someone's skin tone, on someone's height.
Yeah.
Most of that is fine. The gloves are off on that, but then suddenly, oh no, the gloves are on.
And
again.
what's ironic is those things you can't really change.
Yeah.
It's like if you call someone a short ass, it's like they didn't choose to be short. But
I can tell you now, I didn't choose.
Yeah.
But then I had the choice.
equally, they're like, because we did a whole episode on how it may not have been your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Yeah.
However, you can change your body composition in terms of body fat. Whether it's your fault or not, like that's something that you can change based on your calorie intake and output. Whereas you can't exercise your way tall. Like it's like that's done. Like, and unless you want to do the fucking break your legs thing and and then waddle for the
There's
rest of your
always
life.
a way, isn't
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
There's always
find-
a way to
find
get
something.
There's
But
that
it's-
guy, isn't there, in Asia's? I think it's the record for how much height he's gained from that surgery. So basically, the surgery is you break at the shin, and then you fasten it like a centimeter apart, and then the bone actually grows in and fuses. And he's gone from something like 5'7" to like 6 foot. So imagine these, but it's all on the shins. So you've gained like that much distance on. Just having
You
these
just all shin.
Mate, his shorts must be a nightmare. Where'd you go with these? Mate? Imagine walking and you've added like 5 inches just to your shin.
You'd be stubbing your shins on everything.
It must
You'd
be so
yeah.
bizarre.
But it is funny how because again we're in the era now of kind of celebrating mediocrity and anything that stands out, good or bad. It's like, well, no, don't talk about it because you'll offend someone, but it seems to be the objectively like the more successful people, like whether it's financially or if people are, I say objectively because it's like you line a bunch of people up, you can point out the good looking ones. Generally speaking, everyone has their own tastes, but like there are certain like criteria, and you could probably break it down as a science of like what we deem good looking as a society. Like that's why models look the way they do. That's why male models look the way they do. And so, but it's like they get more shit than everyone else that isn't doing anything. But again, it's like they get shamed for making everyone else look bad versus being praised for being like, way to do something that, that most of us can't do.
Yeah.
It would be like shaming Olympians. Like, we've got the Olympics going on. I was like, how dare you run that fast? Like, what about slow people? Like, you make all of us look even slower.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, go fuck yourself.
It doesn't
like,
happen there. Yeah. Imagine, like, the level of commitment that it takes to be an Olympian.
Yeah.
Imagine now you've just run like the 400-meter gold, and the interviewer's there, like, well done, and you're like, yeah, I've like trained really hard, and they go, fuck, I bet you're boring.
Yeah.
I bet you're really boring. You
Yeah,
are.
it's like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that training. Like, oh, I bet you don't even have a life. Like, you're probably still a virgin. Like, but it's like, why would you say that? But it's like you're doing that to make yourself feel better because you feel like you haven't achieved something as great. But that's where it tends to stem from, because it highlights the further you, like, again, the further you deviate from the norm or the average, like, the more you're going to stand out. And
when you do stand out, then it's like, oh well, I can come. And if you stand out for positive reasons, you're almost more open to criticism. Whereas if you stand out for negative reasons, like, oh no, we don't raise this. It's strange.
It's almost like that's the added price that you have to pay to deviate from that norm. Like, you know, it's very rare that I'll go somewhere, and like, even when I went on vacation, it was like I was saying to you guys, there was loads of Northerners from the UK that went to this same resort, and I went down to the pool, and there was like a group of them, like, you know, bellies, you know, there's no way they saw their own dicks. Like, they were just they could rest 6 pints on their.
Did you see it, more importantly?
Yeah. And I went down and I took my vest off, and one of them just goes, "Is that my fucking mirror?" And they're all kind of like giggling. It's like I find that funny. But like, if I was a shy, timid person, I could be felt really uncomfortable for the rest of the day then, and I'm stuck next to this group. But it's, if I said, "Fucking hell, look how big your belly is, mate. Like, are you one of the belly dancers at the entertainment tonight, you fat prick?" Like, you'd be asked to leave.
So
you definitely get a smack in the mouth.
I remember I told you when I was on vacation, like, me and my wife, who's in her 3rd trimester, so like heavily pregnant, was stood in the pool watching the kids play, and then some guy comes round and he stands next to the side of Gabrielle, and he goes, "Oh, I'll stand here because I'll fit in a little bit more." And in my head, I was thinking, you could have just stood there and watched your kid, but you chose to make that comment because you obviously felt insecure in terms of standing. Next week's like he had like a bit of a gut on him. And I was like, you had to come around here to watch your kid. You had to say that when you could have just stood at the pool and still watch your kid. Because you still chose to say that.
You've commented on my body and my wife's body. When it's like, we didn't ask for you.
And the funny thing as well is, we don't make comments or anything else on other people's shape. It's like, you look how you want to look. Like, all good. But they're the first ones to like make a comment about how we look.
It's like we don't make judgment, we state facts, but everyone else makes a judgment. Do you know what I mean? It's like so bizarre.
But it's like the moment you open your mouth, you're the asshole.
But again,
every
are
time.
the gloves on or are the gloves off? Like, we're not sparring with you with your gloves on and I can't. It's
you
like,
just have to take the hits and go, "Oh, good one, mate."
We're either sparring or we're not.
Like, I could have turned around and said, "Imagine being so fat that you look pregnant like my wife." You know what I mean? Imagine if I turned around that. Imagine if I said that. Like, you look like your 3rd trimester, just like my wife. The only reason why I know you're not pregnant is because you're a bloke.
You know? I'm going to stand next to you because you look like a drop kebab. And it's like, oh, there we go.
Yeah, you, like, if you said, "Oh, like, I thought I looked good, but like, seeing you, I look great." Like, it'd be like, why would you, like, again, it's like the only outcome of that is that person isn't going to feel as good as they currently did. But again, their perception is like, he can take it. He's in shape. It's got nothing to do with like your mental state.
You'd be surprised.
90% of bodybuilders are insecure. You know, as hell. Like, you grab a bodybuilder in off season and ask them to take their top off, and they're like, no, I'm off season right now. It's like they're more insecure than the guys with the guts.
They're walking. I remember when I was peak bodybuilding, and I was actually very close to a show, so I was running in my best shape, and I went on the beach with my family, and I actually kept my top on because I didn't want people to look, and I didn't want people to say anything, so I just kept my top on the whole time. And it's weird, it's like, so again, like, when I was, again, I don't, like, I was shredded, but I was like, I probably looked a bit ropey at the time, and it's like although on paper, I guess, would have looked my best, I was the most conscious about the way I looked, hence why I kept my top on. Just like someone who potentially is out of shape would keep their top on. So it's, again, you don't know what's going through people's heads, and you don't know how they feel about themselves regardless of the way they look. So it's like, again, if the gloves are on, with the gloves on, but it's like, it's tough. I think one of the one of the biggest things I see on this topic, and again, Ryan, you sort of raised it a little bit earlier, is the celebration, or the need to consume. We tie it to every form of celebration or commiseration, and it's like, if you're going to consume at every opportunity, it's like people will. We were just reading off the reasons to get pissed. It's like funeral, wedding, birthday, anniversary, friend's birthday, nice weather,
Dog's
Friday, stressful week with work, Nan's
90th.
Nan's 90th. Her cat's birthday.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know, like it's every single thing. Like, and people now celebrate like honeymoons, baby moons,
Birthday months.
birthday months. Well, someone had a birthday month the other day in their 40s, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, do you need it's my, and it's like, and then I'm going to do a celebration with my family. I'm also doing a celebration with my friends. I'm doing a celebration with my work. Oh, someone's leaving work. Let's get pissed.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't even like him anyway. What am I getting pissed for?
Yeah.
It's like,
You find any reason to justify going off the plan or doing something that you know isn't conducive to your goals because of a certain occasion, and it's such an easy story to tell yourself. It's like, oh, but it was this, and it's like, there will always be this every single week.
Yeah.
And it's when you decide that this isn't going to affect your ability to stick to your plan is when you actually get the results.
Yeah.
Because there'll be 3 reasons per week to not follow your plan, at least.
And if there isn't, you'll make one.
Yeah.
write
make
that
one
down
for
on
yourself.
paper, isn't it? It's like, I decided to have 14 sausage rolls, a slice of pizza, and 3 pints of lager because Mary from IT was going on retirement. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's like you've spoken to her 3 times. Like, you could have just gone and said, have a good one, Mary. Good job in IT for the past 20 years. And it's done.
Give her a hug and then send her on her way.
Because then when you break it down, it's like, so you allowed something so minuscule in your life to impact something so massive in your life.
Yeah.
Like that one thing, you gave yourself permission to go off your plan just because it was there. And because that's the thing as well. It's like people are like, well, if the opportunity's there, then I should take it. And a lot of this process is learning how to say no. Or not even learning how to say no, but the action being no. Because like we used to, like, you use the phrase like, I'm good, thanks. Like, you don't want to use like a negative language because then people feel like you're rejecting them. Whereas if you're like, have some more cake, and I go, oh, I'm good, thank you, then that means you've been a good host. I'm satiated. I'm good. Cool. He's done. On to the next. If I go no, then you're like, well, what's wrong with my cake? Like, and it's like a rejection. So the action is you're not doing the thing. And so like a lot of this process is like taking your foot off the brake rather than putting your foot on the gas, and stop doing actions which are ruining your progress or slowing it down. And it's 9 times out of 10, it's this.
Yeah.
It's wanting to blend in, not wanting to look out of place, like fear of judgment of others. So like you sum all of that up, and then the outcome is I did the thing, even though I know it's not the thing that I truly want to be doing. And it all gets broken down. It's like, because you gave your power to something else. Like something that you were in full control of, you decided to let go of it and give it to this situation, this person, the environment, because of the fear of essentially rejection from, because that's what it is. It's like, I'm scared of being rejected by this deal, this person, this friend group, my family. But again, it goes back to, where's the evidence of that? It's like, I guarantee you got a family member that's done some more freakish shit than you not drinking booze, and they're still at the family get-togethers. And so, and equally, it's like, okay, play it out. They reject you. Do you want to do business with someone that doesn't want to do business with you just because you don't drink? Like, is that a moral that you can get behind? Like, probably not, right? Do you want friends that reject you because you don't want to drink 5 pints every Friday? Well, no, I could probably get some better friends, right? So like, you can play the whole thing out in your head, and it's like, well, there's your choices. Like, and that's assuming that they do reject you. Like, worst case scenario, they reject you. Play it out. And then it's like, oh, it's not even that bad. It's like, right. So best case scenario, they go, cool, you do you. And life goes on. But you'll build it up as a story in your head into this massive mountain, and it's never as bad as what you can, your imagination can conjure up the most insane, ridiculous scenarios.
Oh God, yeah.
And then when you actually go, like, you do it and you're like, huh, like, what was I on about?
Yeah.
And you'll do the same thing over and over. And then you practice it, and then you realize, like, okay, well, whatever I'm thinking in my head, it's normally 10 times less as severe. So, like, it's probably going to be okay.
Yeah. Growing up as single as I would, it was quite a good thing that my imagination was as good as it was. To be honest with you.
But again, it's like those like negative thoughts, they're so much stronger than positive ones.
Yeah.
That they can completely override your mind. And then when you're in these kind of situations, again, it takes far more willpower to stand out and deviate from the norm than to just blend in because.
Yeah.
It'd be so easy for us to, maybe dress in a way that makes us look a little bit smaller so we don't look like we train. It'd be way easier to go to family get-togethers and just eat what everyone else is eating and go back for seconds and do what they do. And if they offer you a drink, you say yes. And it's like, no, I'm not going to be any bother. But then it gets to the point that it's like, well, I am going to be a bother because this thing is more important to me. And if that's a bother to this person and they're not willing to accept it, then cool, I'll go somewhere else. I won't come to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you want to be different for whatever reason, whether that's from a financial standpoint, if you want to earn more than the norm, if you want to look different to the norm, if you want to perform different to the norm, it's like, well, it's likely you're going to have to look at remove yourself from these societal norms and be like, that's the wheelhouse that results in normal outcomes.
Yeah.
So it's if I wanna achieve something different, I'm likely gonna have to remove or sometimes reject those societal norms because the outcome is that, and that's actually not the outcome you're.
And that's another thing. Even if you don't reject the societal norms and you actually do the things, as long as you take responsibility and say, "I wanted to do these things," then you have the power to change it.
It's not demonizing it.
No.
It's like it's actions and outcomes.
Yeah,
and
it's actually because a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, I did this thing because of this situation." You're giving the power to that situation, whereas like I wanted to have these 10 beers just because I wanted to. I like drinking beer. But I could also I then have the power to change it if I want to say, no, I don't want to change the beer. I didn't have the 10 beers because I thought Mary wasn't going to be my friend.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a funny conversation because I had this conversation with my friend James ages ago. And he was like, what's your biggest fear? And I was like, my biggest fear is being average. Like an average job, making average wage, living in an average house, an average life, the standard, like, get married, have kids, go on a holiday once a year, like retire on a pension and then die. Like that's like my biggest fear. And then he was like, well, he's like, you were born in the UK. You were born with an above average IQ. Like that's like IQ is genetic. You were able to go to school, get good education. You were able to get like funding to go to university and get degrees. Like you're already above average without you having to lift a fucking finger. He's like, because of all the privilege that you were born with. So he's like, so get that out of your head. Like, because it's like, you had an unfair advantage anyway. So you're not like, because the average person in the UK, I think, is born in a broken home, doesn't have access to like half the things that I had access to and stuff. So it's like, you're born above average. But then, so he's like, you change that verbiage to like, your fear is not reaching your potential. Of what you believe your potential is, your biggest fear is not achieving that. And that's really what it was, is like, I don't want to be what I classed as average because I know that I can achieve more than that. And my biggest fear will be not achieving that. So then when you look at it, it's like, well, if that's your biggest fear, like, are you going to let Mary from IT, be part of that and not let you achieve your best? And it sounds very trivial, but the reason why people don't get to their potential is because they let a million of those little things deviate them over time.
Yeah.
And so it might just seem like, it's just once, but it's like, but you do it once, it gets easy to do it the next time. And then you look 5 years down the line and it's like, there's been 500 occasions where I had the path to go down to reach my potential and I chose not to. And it's like those million little steps that it's like, now you are so far away from where you could be because of those little things. But at the time you didn't think that they were significant. And so it's, I think it's important to kind of have that view of like the big picture of like, well, am I behaving like the person who I want to become and who I believe I can be? Would that person give in so easily? And it's like, and to me that's motivating. Like now I'm at a point like I like standing out. Like I don't want to blend in. Like, because it's like makes me more interesting. I love talking to new people. If they want to say like, fucking hell, like what do you do? And it's like, oh, like nice to meet you too, and like have a conversation. Don't get offended. Like it's great. Like it makes you more. It like again, it perks people's interests. Like if you stand out, but like not that the goal isn't to stand out. Like the goal is to achieve your best. Yeah. But it's very, very likely that by doing that, you are going to stand out because most people don't achieve their best. Yeah.
By reaching with your potential, you're going to stand out by default, essentially.
Yeah. Because it's like we never talk in absolutes. Like you're going to be like rejected by everyone if you like do this thing, and it's like, well, no, but it is likely you are probably going to change friend groups. Yeah. Like it's just, and again, there's just evidence to suggest that. But yeah, I think like actionable items like on this topic is really look at situations where you have that gut feeling of like, I don't want to stand out. I want to blend in or conform, and look at the behaviors that you're doing in those situations that you know aren't conducive to where you want to be long term, and then just try behaving differently in one of them. Just start with one. Like whether it's like start with the family get-togethers or start with the business meetings. Try it. Try not drinking for a business meeting and see what happens. You can always go back. It's always an option.
The lager ain't going anywhere.
Just try it. You know, because like you might find you don't drink at a business meeting. Your brain is firing way faster. You're able to give way better answers. You're more interesting. You're more like you gather more information and you retain more information. You don't forget the next morning, you know, and you might find, oh my God, that's the best meeting I ever had because I wasn't dulled by alcohol. Or you might find the guy thought I was fucking boring and like, because I didn't drink with him. So, okay, like maybe try again, try like, or, you know, you can revert back, but I think just try it. Like it's like all of this stuff is like, see what happens. Because unless you've tried it before, there is zero evidence of whatever story you've built up in your head that is the thing. Even if it's the thing of 10 of your other friends, it's happened to them. It's like, but it hasn't happened to you yet. Like, try it for yourself.
And I think again, if you want something different, it's likely that you're on occasion not gonna fit in to the norm. Those normal behaviors that you see going on around you, you're likely not gonna have to do them quite often. And that's like we say the word likely because we're not saying you can never have fun, you can never drink, you can never do these things. It's more a case of we'll look at what the norm does, which is maybe 10 units of alcohol a week. You might have to only do 3. It's just stacking chips, isn't it? That you've got to stack these chips and reduce these ones. Like at the moment, your chips are like this. Well, you're gonna have to start shifting them, stacking more chips in your favor, and the chips that aren't doing you any favors, maybe the actual chips as well, you need to reduce down.
If like, what do they say? If you want to change, something has to change in your life, don't they?
Yes. Exactly.
So, summary. Fuck normal.
Yeah. Fuck normal.
And the police. But no, just, accept that, you know, if you want to achieve something which is typically perceived as out of the norm, you are very likely going to have to do abnormal behaviors, and that's okay. And you have a whole team of superhumans behind you that are doing the exact same thing.
And can help highlight those behaviors for you.
Yes.
In our community, those abnormal behaviors are normal.
Exactly. Find a different environment.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have an amazing week. Be sure to like and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. We love the police. And thanks for keeping us safe in our homes.
Shout out to
us.
First responders.
Shout out to Blue. And we'll see you next time.
If you love this show, please like, share, and leave us a 5-star review so that we can help more people. I'm John Madsen, Superhuman CEO, reminding you to always go get what's yours.